Welcome back to an American Homestead, podcasting live from deep within the Ozark Mountains at an elevation of 2,200 feet. It's 9 p.m. Central and 10 Eastern, and it's good to be back. Jamie's with me tonight, and I want to thank you to Deep South Homestead and all the homestead channels that are leading up to our show tonight. Enjoyed all those. If you're interested in some great homesteading channels, you can check them out at thehomesteadnetwork.com. Go to their show times and look at all of the different amazing homesteads that have great YouTube channels full of information that you will enjoy. So, get started on tonight. We always start off the same way. What did you do this week?
I got the rest of my homeschool books in the mail. I love getting books in the mail.
What books did you get?
Oh, there was a lot of fun stuff. I'm really, honestly, mostly excited about our history curriculum this year. I decided to go with a curriculum called Beautiful Feet, and it's not a really, really well-known homeschool curriculum, but I'm really excited because they use read-aloud books. And then they also incorporate some notebooking activities, but it came with a very well laid out lesson plan guide. And that was really what I need because honestly, I never plan my homeschool from day to day. So it's going to be fun to break those books out and read along. And Caleb will love reading too. He loves reading as a 3-year-old. He listens and he loves listening to stories. So that's what we're doing for history.
Yeah, the kids, it seems like every time a new package comes in with homeschool books and curriculum, they just they really like thumbing through it just like you do.
Yeah,
so,
they love looking at the new books.
Yeah, they really, really enjoy that. So, what else did you do this week? Anything else?
Oh gosh, I'm always working in the kitchen, but I do that every week. I don't know.
It's just normal day-to-day stuff.
It's just life around here.
I worked on the sawmill this week, still working on the roof, trying to get that up, and
I know what I did.
What?
That I've never done before. Well, the moms out there will appreciate this story because I really tried hard to, my son peed in his bed, and it was really, really bad, and it soaked in really thoroughly, and so I couldn't just wash the sheet. I had to wash the mattress cover. Anyway, I've never washed the mattress cover by hand before, and I will tell you, I don't recommend it. It was a lot of work. It was probably the biggest thing I've ever washed, and I almost got it stuck in the wringer, and I didn't know if I was even going to get it out. But thankfully I did, but that's something I did this week. I wrestled with the wringer.
Yeah.
Washing pee out of the mattress cover.
Yeah, it's hard to turn that thing when you got a big piece of fabric trying to push through it. So we put up our episode, and there was quite a few comments on the laundry, and we're going to read some of those later.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so I think people will enjoy that. We got a lot of comments on YouTube, so we'll read those. Changed the oil on my truck. There's just, day-to-day stuff on the homestead. You're just keeping up with stuff. You're doing yard work. You're just trying to finish projects. Doing a lot of stuff on the mill. Helping out neighbors for certain things. It's always busy. And obviously the garden. You're always working on the garden and trying to keep the garden, under control and getting it ready for next year, keeping it productive. And so that's always something that you're working on. Anyway, hey, so listen, a few of you guys out there, I'm making you moderators because, the trolls come out and, they don't play and work well with others. And so I'm making a few of you moderators. Deep South, you're a moderator. I think, I don't know who.
I thought you had
Brad. He's a moderator as well. So some of you guys are just going to see your moderator symbols go up next to you to keep the trolls at bay. What were you going to say?
Didn't you have the living on a dime people?
Yeah, I think so. They think they're a moderator too. So I'm just trying to keep the trolls under control. They came in last time and they wrecked havoc, And so got to keep them in line.
Do the other shows get a lot of trolls?
Yep, they do sometimes, So and Big Brad, the big family homestead, he told me, hey, listen, you got to have some moderators because eventually the trolls will come in and they will take over the chat room and post all kinds of nasties, and it's just so. So if you see a moderator symbol come up next to your avatar, please feel free to go ahead and use the ban stick whenever you feel necessary. So.
They're talking about the rain. Yeah, we got a lot of rain yesterday. I tell everybody that my favorite thing to do in the rain is wash my hair. If you haven't washed your hair in the rain, I highly recommend it because it's really soft water and it makes your hair really soft. And I just lean over and let the roof run on the water drip off the roof, and that's how I wash my hair.
Yeah, in fact, I've read that before too. Other people have told us that washing your hair in the rain is really, it's really soft water, and very comfortable for people who do it. I've never done it, but
because you have short hair,
she usually takes advantage every time.
It's easy for you to wash in the shower.
Anyway, so listen, the title of this show and the topic that we're going to use for this show is. It's a great time to homestead in America because I really truly believe it's a great time to homestead in America. And I'm basing that off just a few years now of observation of seeing what goes on around us here in rural America because we are very rural. Deep South Homestead mentioned in the last show that people often tell them that, hey, if things get bad, we're gonna come to your house. Well, if things go bad, they won't be able to get to my house. We live way out in the middle of nowhere, and every time, this time of year, especially in the spring and fall, when the spring and fall rains come, we usually have one or two washouts for roads, and it makes things impassable. So after a couple of seasons, after really, a year or so, in fact, they're working on the roads that we live on nonstop throughout the year, and if they stopped, within a year, our roads would be pretty much impassable. We're just really far out here in the mountains of the Ozarks. So they're just not going to be able to get here. And so I think it's a great time to homestead in America for a number of reasons because we've been watching all the stuff that's going on around here. I've been seeing news articles, and there was a news article that came out this week from the New York Post. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm a news junkie and have always been a news junkie. Ever since I got out of the military, I have been a news junkie. And so I look at Drudge and I look at some other alternative news sources, and things catch my eye throughout the week. And this week it was the New York Post. And the New York Post and all of the links that we're about to share with you guys are in the description of the video. And so you can go to the description and look at the links that I'm talking about right now. And it's the New York Post. Taxpayers are fleeing New York in droves. Tax-paying New Yorkers are leaving in droves for other states, according to the new study. In 2014, 126,000 New York tax filers fled to other places in the United States, more than any other state, according to the study posted on neogeography.com by two demographers. How do you say that word? Demographers?
Where?
Right here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. The Empire State also lost the most high earners who reported incomes of more than $200,000 a year. The states don't like it when people who earn a lot of money leave. New York has been leading the nation in domestic migration for decades, Wendell Cox, who co-authored the study. Well, what does that tell you? It tells you that people aren't happy with the amount of taxes they pay, the conditions of the schools, property taxes, and other things. While New York's population is still growing in part because of immigration, many residents are leaving for other states because of high property taxes, a lack of business opportunities, and unaffordable homes, Cox said. The property taxes are bad, but they are on top of an even worse situation in terms of affordability. And so I went through this article, and I was reading. There's a little video that goes along with it. And one of the points that it made is that in New York State, it's 90% higher for childcare. You take the national average of childcare affordability in this country, and it's 90% higher than the national average. So my question the first question I was going to ask was, is it even is it even any type of cost savings for the other parent to go to work nowadays? When it's that high. I mean, where's the cost savings? If it's 90% above the national average.
You'd have to have a really high-paying job. I mean, you'd have to be making at least 6 figures, right, to make it worth it?
It's ridiculous. And, I mean, what's the point? I mean, you're sending your kids to the public school. You'd be so much better off because the bar is set so low today in the public school system that why even send your kids to public school anymore? Because the homeschoolers, I mean, what's every single winner of the national spelling bee for the last 25 years has been a homeschooler, I think is what the stats are.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's crazy. Why on earth, I mean, with Common Core being as it is now, and people so upset about that, and the lowering of the bar so much further because of it, why, it makes no sense for both parents to be at work when childcare, cost for childcare is so high, because a lot of these times when, these kids go home from school, they have to pay for their kids to go somewhere else because the parents aren't home from work yet, and the cost is very substantial to the parents.
I remember when we were first having Joshua, and a woman at my work came up to me and suggested her daycare because she really loved it. And being polite, I listened, although I was already planning on leaving work. I just didn't want to tell everyone there. Anyway, but, I asked her, well, how much does it cost per month? I went home, I had worked it out in my head, and it turned out that I think I had to pay, it must have been like 60 or 70% of my paycheck would just go to daycare. Her standard of daycare, which was in a rich part of town.
Right.
But, I would have certainly gone with much more affordable daycare had I chose that route. However,
on your salary, 70%.
Something like that. It's been like, 10 years ago now.
Yeah. I remember when you ran the numbers on that. I remember you coming to me and telling me about that. But anyway, back to the article. In an interview Thursday with Post columnist Frederick Dicker on Albany Radio, GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump trashed the upstate economy. Hillary Clinton, when she was senator, said she would bring back your jobs. Trump said she did nothing, as it was all such lies. All these places are dying. It turned out to be total lie. Jobs have fled. And so, yada, yada, the political battle continues. Illinois has lost the second largest number of people to other states, with 82,000 people moving elsewhere in 2014, followed by California, which saw 59,900 residents depart. Now, hold that thought. This article is talking about 82,000 people from Illinois moving elsewhere in 2014, followed by California with 57,900, roughly. And it's leading with New York. Now we go to our second article, which was written 2 months ago. Now, this New York Post article came out 2 days ago. The next article that's also listed in your show notes in the description below is about Chicago. People are leaving Chicago in droves, but they're leaving New York in bigger numbers, and it gives you the numbers that they're leaving Chicago. But what I found really interesting, guys, is in this article, it gives you some ideas about where they're going. But also look at the list. So here's the rank, 1 through 10. New York, Chicago, Detroit, San Jose, Los Angeles, Milwaukee. And what is number 7?
St. Louis.
St. Louis, that's where we're from.
Yeah.
We left St. Louis. And so, and it gives the median home prices there. And, but New York, Chicago, Detroit is, Detroit. But
are they talking city limits?
Metropolitan areas, probably.
Okay, well, maybe they're just moving further out. Are they actually leaving the...
Well, no, it goes into that in the article. We'll get to that in a second. But Detroit, first of all, Detroit, Michigan, I could not believe that was number 3, because I didn't think anyone was still left in Detroit, Michigan. But if you go down through the article, you'll come to a map of the United States. And it tells you where most of these people are moving to, and most of these people who are leaving the cities, not all of them, obviously, because we're one of those people on those statistics, because St. Louis is listed there. We left St. Louis. But not all, but most of the people who leave to go to other cities. They're leaving places like New York, where the taxes are high, the regulations are high, property taxes are high. It's hard to afford childcare. It's hard to afford healthcare. All these things, and jobs are hard to get. But they're moving not to rural America.
That's so funny.
They're moving...
Chicago is moving to LA, and the LA people are moving to Dallas and Houston.
Well, yeah, that's the huge exodus that we know people who've done that. So there's lots of people leaving California. Okay, they're going to other places. Some of them are moving to New York. Look at that, Los Angeles to New York. Now, why is that? I have no idea.
The draw of the bigger city.
All right, stick with me, folks. I'm going somewhere with this. Okay, so stick with me. If you look at this map, it shows you that most of the time these people are leaving the cities, leaving metropolitan areas for other metropolitan areas. Okay? Now I'm going to bring you to a different article. I'm going to bring you over to theatlantic.com, and it's an article also posted in the show notes in the description below. It's called The Graying of Rural America. And it talks about all of these towns in rural America. And there's lots of articles. So if you just do a search about people leaving rural America, or people, just search for something like that on Google, you'll find all kinds of articles of people leaving rural America. And where are they going? They're going to the cities. The kids, the people whom these folks are raising in rural America, they're moving to the cities. The people in the cities, a lot of them are moving out of the cities just to go to different cities. But the people in rural America, they're also leaving, and they're going to the cities. And so when we first got here, in fact, the people we bought our property from, this lady and her husband, they were selling the property, and they also had another piece of property, which I think was another 80 acres, not that far down the roadways. They have since also sold that, and guess where they moved? To the city. They moved to the city. They had no kids. The kids were grown. They were empty nesters, and they moved back to the city because he wanted to be closer to his work, and she wanted to be closer to some of the shopping and the amenities that they offer there. And while they really enjoyed their time in rural America, it was just time to go. And so they left. And I can't tell you how many stories we have heard from people who live in our area, old-timers who have grown up here, raised their families here, and now are becoming elderly, and all of their kids are gone.
Yeah, the kids don't want to live here.
All their kids are gone. So what are they faced with? They're faced with this land that they have, probably a family business that they've been operating on the land all this time, and there's no one to take it over. There's no kids to take over the family business. They've all gotten computer jobs in the cities, or they want to be close to Starbucks or whatever it is, and so they are somewhere where they can get a cell tower reception, and they move and they're gone.
I think it's crazy because we wanted this life so much that we made it happen, but the kids of the people who are from here, our age, they all live in the city. Yeah. And so we're kind of an anomaly, I think, being our age, homesteading. Mm-hmm.
Now, we're not the only ones, obviously, but there are others.
Right, but I'm saying that everyone that is our age homesteading has started it from scratch.
Right.
Like, I don't think that there's very many, I don't know. I mean, I would love to hear if there's some examples of it, but I think that our age homesteaders have started out on our own. Most
of the YouTube channels that you see out there today that talk about homesteading, these are people who left the city to go homestead. They're not, not all of them, but most of them. I mean, even the big ones, Wrangler Star, Fouchomatic, some of these big names out there who've got a lot of subscribers, these guys all were from urban America or suburban America, and they moved out to rural America. They wanted to change in their life. And so that's what you have here. So why is this a great time to be a homesteader in America? What I'm proposing to you is that it's a great time to be a homesteader in America because you have so many people in rural America who don't know what to do with the land they're on, and they're selling it. And they're putting it on the market, and they're having a hard time selling it. Folks, there's land out where I live, and not just where I live in the Ozarks, but other places too in rural America where people have had land for sale for 6, 12, 18 months, and they can't get rid of it. They can't sell it for what they're asking for. And it's because nobody wants to live there. There's no cell tower coverage. There's no Aldi. There's no Whole Foods. There's no Starbucks. Most small towns have a McDonald's, but Most millennials today are convinced that McDonald's isn't healthy, and so they're not eating McDonald's like people used to back in the 80s and 90s. And, what do they do? So there's just no options. I got a neighbor right now. He's got 100 acres in a trust, and nobody in his family likes coming out to visit there. They don't like coming out to the land. So what's he going to do when him and his wife?
Well, they don't live on it either.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What do you mean they live on it?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Talking about
Sorry,
Vernon.
I thought you were talking about somebody else.
Yeah, so our neighbor lives there and with his wife, and they're growing elderly, and there's coming a point in time when, what's going to happen to that land? So, and the kids are going to see dollar signs. They're going to come in. They're going to break the trust, pay the back taxes on it, and they're going to sell it. And some hopefully urban wannabe homesteaders are going to buy it and make a lifestyle change. So it's things like that's what I see. And so that's why I see it's a great time right now to be a homesteader. The first show we did when we did our podcasting was about how you can get free land in America. And it's true. There are places right now in some of these small towns, like mentioned in this article, the graying of rural America, that will give you free land in some of these small towns. It's not a lot, but they just want people to come back to some of these rural places. And they're willing to do anything to get you to do so. So that's the thing. I think now is the time. If people want a homestead, you can make it happen. And there is a lot of options and opportunities for people in rural America to move to if you're willing to make a lifestyle change, because obviously there's some things you have to get used to. And if you can figure out a way to make an income and to survive with your family and raise your family, and again, sacrifices have to be made. But I think this is a great time to be a homesteader.
Yeah, we're in almost 4 years now, and which seems like a drop in the bucket. But we've learned a lot in 4 years.
Yeah, but we've made sacrifices. We're figuring out different ways to make a living, and exploring different options. Some work, some don't. There's always trial and error.
I think having been successful before in our city life, we can make things work.
Some people are successful because they don't stop working, they don't stop trying, they don't give up, and so that there's an attitude. Now we've done videos on that. Being a homesteader, just really all it takes is a proper attitude, and you can succeed at it. Anyway, I just wanted to urge you guys to check out those articles, the graying of rural America, and the articles about New York and Chicago. Just really interesting, and talking about where are people moving today, and rural America is being emptied. A lot of people leaving the cities are not moving to rural America; they're moving to other parts of the urban America, cities or metropolitan areas, and it's just interesting to watch all of this. I did notice in this map posted on the Chicagoist.com that a lot of people are leaving California, because we have a lot of people who live in our area from California that moved out here.
Yeah.
Because they want that homestead lifestyle. They want to be close to others who like that lifestyle, and then I know some people were moving to Texas. A lot of people moving to Texas, but I think people in California don't realize that Texas has already gone so far liberal with regulations, and Houston and Austin is just controlled by a bunch of liberals, that there really is a high amount of regulation in that state. And so there are people who have moved from Texas, to the Ozarks. Folks, look for places that are going to be good for homesteading. Some places are better than others, for sure. Let's see, what else? We'll go over the chat room here in a little bit. There's a couple other things I wanted to talk about first. You want to go over to the comments on YouTube, see what people said about your laundry?
Oh, all right.
All right, so comments on YouTube. So do you do laundry outside during the winter? And then a second question related to that is, how do you do laundry in the winter, especially drying it all?
Well, no, I usually don't do it outside during the winter, unless it's really like heavy stuff, like heavy pants, or if I have to wash a coat, I'll take it outside. I've done laundry plenty outside during the winter. Honestly, it kind of sucks. I mean, I've broken ice out of my wash bins before. Yeah, it's not my favorite. So when we did get our house set up, we got a laundry built inside the bathroom. It's just kind of the same setup we have outside, except it's in the bathroom. I don't love doing it inside either. There, honestly, probably my favorite way to do it in the house during the winter is at the kitchen sink. And I'll fill a bucket with my pitcher pump. And in the winter, I make sure that I do a little bit at a time, because the second part of the question was, how does it get dry? Well, I usually don't dry it outside unless it's like a really sunny day. The clothes will dry on the line. I mean, if they're believe me, I've had clothes in the basket frozen before I even get them to the line, and I hang them on the line. It takes 2 or 3 days, but the sun will evaporate frozen water out of your clothes. It will happen. You'll just have to wait for a while. But my favorite way to do laundry now is to be able to do a little bit at a time. So I'll maybe do a bucket of clothes every day in the kitchen, at the kitchen sink, just wring them out, and then I hang them on my drying rack next to the wood stove. And that's probably the easiest thing, is just to keep on top of it, just do a little bit every day.
What about, it says doing laundry like that looks like a good workout?
Yeah, it definitely is. We've talked about getting a washing machine, and I really dug my heels in because I wanted a washing machine for a while. This was probably about a year ago now. I really wanted a washing machine because I knew it was possible with solar, and I thought, well, if we just get a little bit more, I could have a washing machine. Then I realized I have a pitcher pump. If I get a washing machine, I'm going to lose that workout too. And honestly, I really need that workout. So
I have been doing laundry by hand for years. I love doing it that way. I even make my own laundry soap, and I hang them outside. Winter in the winter, I hang them inside the shower.
Yeah, I tried the shower thing. I really honestly tried the shower thing, and they just don't get dry in there. I think it's just damp. It's an enclosed space, and so it doesn't have good air movement. Maybe if you had a big kind of open bathroom, but our little kind of bathtub shower stall thing is not good for air circulation, and so they would just get kind of mildewy smelling. And so I stopped doing that.
Well, we hang them now by the wood stove. You got that rack. It's the bed.
Yeah, I just prop it next to the wood stove.
You've probably seen that in some of our videos that we have.
It's just the side of a crib. I hang all the clothes on that, just propped next to the wood stove.
So, next comment. I just want to say that if you get behind on laundry, there is no shame in going to the laundromat to get caught up every now and again.
I am well aware. Can I tell a story about you?
Okay.
Can I tell that story about you?
Okay. What story?
Zach forbid me from going to the laundromat.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
And it really, really, really made me mad at the time. I mean, fighting mad. But after all these years, I honestly have to say that I'm glad that he gave me that push. Although he didn't do it in the best way, he did give me that push to keep going. And, now I look back and I know, I hung my clothes on the line, frozen, for Pete's sake. I mean, come on, that's kind of crazy, right? I guess I'm crazy. But I look back and I think, okay, well, now I can do anything. Like, I can do anything I set my mind to. And if I can make it through multiple winters without going to the laundromat, I'm serious, like never going to the laundromat. I mean, that's kind of some serious bragging rights. Not that I'm trying to be proud to everyone, but a lot of times I have to pat myself on the back because I think we as women get down on ourselves a lot. And we need those times to say, but hey, look at what I did. I did that. Cool. Pat myself on the back. So anyway.
You get a medal.
Thank you, honey.
It says, why don't you ask your hubby to set up a washing machine with a solar panel energy? Troy from the Do It Yourself channel has one solar powered. I don't know who that is, but
I think I already answered that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, because before you were really wanting to do that, but you decided not to do it, and
yeah, I told you I need the exercise. You know what? I don't know. There's a lot of people who love to go running. I say props to you. I'm not a runner. I never will be. I hate running. If I have to exercise, it better be accomplishing a task. Because
I better be running from something or to something.
I'm not just going to schedule in my day, oh, okay, I'm going to do this right now. What am I accomplishing? I need work to exercise.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was the comments. I thought a lot of the comments were really good, and I thought we'd share some of those with everyone. There was a lot of great comments on the recent post we did. Let's see, I'm going to make Go for Green Living a moderator. There we go. There you go. All right, Go for Green Living, you're a moderator. Just in case any of the others aren't there, that should be enough moderators, I think. So, anyway, I don't know if you've had any troubles with how's Little Tiger doing? Somebody asked, how's Little Tiger doing?
She's doing fine.
All right, we'll give you a couple other news things that came across my desk this week that I thought that people would be interested in. And this was kind of like what Deep South Homestead was talking about before we moved over into our show. And, there's some prepping that people need to do. And just there's different things. There's all kinds of, catastrophes or emergencies that could happen. And, we've always been preppers. We've had bug out bags for I don't know how long.
Ever since, 10 years at least.
Yeah, we've had bug out bags forever. We've even done some videos on bug out bags. We'll do some more videos on bug out bags. But prepping has always been in my mindset, especially after college when we got married and we came home to Missouri and started prepping and looking at the world around us and going, wow, this is really messed up. And so one of the articles I saw on Off-Grid News was, if a solar storm strikes the power grid, these states are where you want to live. And so that caught my attention because I want to know what could be there. So let me bring this up. And all the links, again, are in the show notes. If you want to look at something that we have going on or we're talking about, the link should be in the show notes. You can click it and, follow along with us. But it's Off the Grid News, extreme survival. If a solar storm strikes the power grid, these states are where you want to live. And I don't know why it's not coming up. There we go. All right, here it goes. It's coming. And basically what it comes down to is, let me just start reading this to you. The massive solar storm that struck the very early wired telegraph grid, 1859. It was so intense that in some places, telegraph operators reported they could send messages even with their batteries disconnected. The event produced auroras that were seen close to the equator and illuminated the night sky so bright that Americans could read their newspapers on their porch. That's pretty crazy. This historical storm that pummeled the Earth was caused by a coronal mass ejection striking the magnetosphere and remains to this day one of the largest electromagnetic storms on record. So, most people who are preppers have read about this. They know about it, right? It says, and the article continues on. It goes through a map of where most of that electronic field would be amplified, and the Ozarks seems to be pretty good. The states that fare the best are West Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, parts of eastern California, eastern Washington and Oregon, and Idaho. Everyone else is pretty much in trouble, especially those guys, it looks like, on the East Coast. And it's because of all the electronics that they have there. It's just going to be a giant amplified electric field in the East Coast. And so I thought that was a really cool article, and I wanted to share it with you guys. And, when we were preparing to build a homestead and and moved to a place where we wanted to homestead, things like this factored into where I wanted to live. I wanted to live in a place that was rural. It was basically had low regulation, not a lot of infrastructure, and really some of these places, I believe, because of the infrastructure, is what causes that amplified electric field. So I really think it's something to keep in mind when you're looking for a homestead. And, because this is a great time to be a homesteader, these are things you need to take into consideration when choosing a homestead. Obviously, there are things that are more important on my list, things like low regulation, homeschooling options and regulations, taxes, just the average cost of living, stuff like that. But this is something that I believe is important when looking for a homestead. So check out this article. The map is included in the article, and you can choose accordingly. I think we're pretty okay. I like where we live. If 1859 ever happens again. So what else? Another article I got here I thought you would be interested in. Gun ownership in America hits record highs again. And I have the article already up. This is offgridsurvival.com. Gun ownership in America hits record highs. 44% of all homes now have a firearm. That's approaching half. 44% of all homes in America now have a gun. It says, so according to the anti-gunners, with all these extra guns on the streets, we should be seeing more gun-related murders than ever before. After all, they keep telling us that guns are the problem. Well, not so fast. And folks, if you've seen our videos, you know that me and Jamie both carry. We're both licensed to carry, and we're both trained in firearms. And a lot of times in our videos, you see that we carry firearms for a number of reasons, that we've mentioned in past videos on our channel. So. July was the 15th straight month of record gun sales. I don't know what August is yet. They don't have the numbers out yet. But July was the 15th straight month of record gun sales here in this country. And so we haven't really gotten to politics here on this channel for the most part. We're not going to get into that until maybe closer to the election. We'll discuss that a little bit. But I think politics is what fuels this. We all know that the politicians, don't want you to have a gun for the most part. And I remember that meme I saw on Facebook with the two guys from the Muppet Show. What's those two old guys called? I forgot.
I don't know.
Hodstetler or something. I don't know. The two old guys from the Muppet Show. The Muppet Show. And, they had the meme on Facebook where these two old guys were looking at the camera and said, if a politician says you don't need a gun, you need a gun. I thought that was hilarious. But anyway, let's see what else is next. And then we'll go over to the chat room and talk to you guys. HR 2309 could pass before the end of the year, and I think you should support it. And I rarely come out in favor of any political bills. That's why I wanted to lead into this after talking about gun stuff, because it kind of gets you into politics. The U.S. Congress is now working on a bill that, if passed, would allow, for the first time since really the founding fathers of this country, you will be able to legally distill spirits and alcohol on your homestead or in your home. You'll be able to do that for the first time. Now, it's a limited amount, I think 24 gallons per person, or if you live in a couple household where the people are married, then I believe it's 48 gallons, so 24 times 2. And first time, since Prohibition, basically, that we will be allowed to distill spirits. Now, there's a lot of reasons why you want to do this, folks. If you have a solar system, if you have a solar setup, if you have lead acid batteries, you know that you need to add distilled water to your batteries every so often, and being able to get distilled water is paramount for your batteries. You have to do that. Well, this would allow you to make your own distilled water. It also would allow you to make your own distilled spirits for medicinal uses or for drinking or for trade or barter. And when it comes to a prepping mentality, a prepping mindset, trading alcohol for barter necessities is highly recommended to be able to do that. So, use that as it is. So be that as it is. It's very important. I really hope, the legislative session is coming to an end. I have worked in politics before in Jefferson City, and I know how much of a sausage factory it can be. HR 2309 is out of committee. It just needs to come up for a vote or be attached to another bill for an up or down vote. And so it could pass before the end of the year. But with the legislative session winding down, it's getting harder and harder as the days go by to probably get that passed. But it has come the closest it's ever come in American history for you to once again be able to distill your own spirits at home. And so it's an American tradition. Our founding fathers did it. Everyone, it's been done by humanity for thousands of years. And for medicinal reasons, for drinking reasons, for all kinds of reasons, distilled water reasons, all kinds of reasons, the people have been doing this. And it may finally be legal again. So if you're into calling your congressman or senator, tell them to support H.R. 2309 and the Senate equivalent of that bill to hopefully get it passed. Also, and the last thing before we go to the chat room, I'm about to give my first bad review on a product coming up on the channel.
Yeah.
I don't want to mention it yet.
I know.
But I feel really bad, guys. I feel really bad because, when someone sends me a product, they send me a product and they want me to test it out, and they're hopeful that I'm going to give it a thumbs up and it's going to help their sales. And folks, we have been with a number of advertisers over the years, and we're getting ready to do another one for Clawhammer Supply, which goes into my last item about the HR 2309. And they're sending us a new product to try out because we do have our federal fuel permit here on this homestead. And they have been a great advertiser, and they're coming back again to do some more stuff. But when I feel really bad when someone sends me a product and they want their product to get a good review, and I've got to be honest. I mean, it didn't work. And so you'll see that here probably in the next week or so up on YouTube, and just know that I am painfully putting it up because I want people who send me stuff to do well. I want their products to work. And I want their businesses to succeed. I mean, most of these people who send me the stuff, they're small, medium businesses, and they're mom and pop shops, and they have an idea, and sometimes the ideas don't work out well. But I want everyone to succeed. But I got to be honest with my audience, because if I'm not honest with you guys, when I do give an honest review, and you go out and you buy the product, and you find something different happens, you're gonna call me a fraud, and rightfully so, and I don't want that to happen. So my first bad review, it's coming out soon on the channel, and so you'll have to check it out, and just know that it's painful to do it. We'll leave it at that. So let's go to the chat room, and guys, if you have questions and you want us to see them, please put them in all caps, and we'll try to get them and go from there. So put all your questions in all caps, and we'll try to get them. Someone says, "Speak the truth, Zach." So yeah. I'm gonna give you the lowdown on this. What else? Anything? Waiting for there's a delay, so we're waiting for people to give their questions. Let's see. Anything else you want to add? Thoughts on the Back to Eden garden method? It works. It works, but there's some things you need to do first. You need to lime your soil. If you need to check your soil, make sure, find out where it's at, and then if it needs liming, lime it. If it needs fertilizing, put fertilizer down. Just try to find natural fertilizers and go from there. But Back to Eden garden absolutely does work. But if you don't like here in the Ozarks, we have a very, very low pH. If you don't lime your garden, putting wood chips on your garden is going to take a real long time for you to grow anything. What is the average cost per acre for bare land in your area? Oh, it varies. It can be anywhere from $2,000 all the way down to $1,300, $1,200 an acre. It just depends. And a lot of these people who are charging $2,000 an acre are asking way too much. Why do you not have a dog to protect your chickens? Do you have a predator problem? We don't have a predator problem. Well, first off, we back up. Every homestead has a predator problem. You're always going to have raccoons trying to get your chickens. It's a daily struggle, or nightly struggle, I guess. What you need to do is build your chickens a Fort Knox, so that they can be secured in their coop. But every night, the coons are going to come out and they're going to try to get in that coop, and you better have your stuff squared away so that they can't get in there. But we don't have a dog here for a lot of reasons. One of the big reasons is all the other neighbors have dogs, and they all fight each other and cause a bunch of drama between neighbors. And they're always running around not unspaded, neutered, and so we don't want to do that on our land anyway. We don't want to do that to our animals, and it's just a mess. People own all kinds of pets. What do you want to say?
The dogs are not staying home to take care of the property
everywhere
that they're supposed to take care of. So what use is a dog?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's just, and there's a couple of neighbors who have dogs that actually do things. I mean, they have a job and they do their job. They protect some of their flock, but most of the dogs that run around here, they just run around, and it's just crazy. Deep South Homestead says, how much sorghum have you planted? We have roughly about a 1/4 acre of sorghum. And we're using a sugarcane juicer to do that. We called the sugarcane juicer. We did a video on it just last week, and it's Tubo Biz. Highly recommend the company. They did it looks like it's going to work really well. He recommended that particular juicer because it has some extra horsepower to crush the sorghum. And he said, yeah, the sorghum is tougher. I know you mentioned the same thing over at on your channel, that sorghum is tougher, it's harder, and this juicer will be able to crunch it. So that's the juicer we got. You can see the video on our channel. Do you use electric to protect your chickens? No, they're in a coop, and it's for when they lock them up at night. There's nothing getting in and out of that coop. It's pretty much a fortress. So a lot of times, people complain to me and they say, I can't keep raccoons or foxes out of the chicken coop. There's always snakes getting in there and causing havoc or whatever. And it's you're not building your coop good enough. You got to build a fortress. It needs to be a castle. So and that's what Tim built here. He built a fortress, Fort Knox, for the chickens. Guinea hens let you know when coons are around. That's true, but the problem is a lot of times the guinea hens are roosting in the trees and they get killed by the coons at night. So it just depends.
Yeah, because it's always at night when you're sleeping.
How many acres of land do you have in food production? Maybe an acre, maybe half an acre total. And I'm counting, if you count the sheep, maybe an acre and a half.
And the sorghum and the garden.
Yeah, maybe an acre and a half. It's not a lot, but it produces plenty for us. It's plenty for us. Acre and a half, we could probably get by with less. What other vegetables do you can besides potatoes and beans? Do you can greens?
No.
Greens, what do you mean, like lettuce?
Like spinach? Like
No.
Popeye?
Do they do that? I guess they do.
Popeye did.
You can buy canned spinach at the store.
Oh, sorry, but I just don't think my family would eat that.
I like my greens raw. Guys, I go out to my garden and I'm like chewing on okra raw. I love it raw. I like all my greens raw.
I focused this year on, of course, potatoes, but salsa. Everyone loves salsa. So I can really put salsa on a lot of things. Tomatoes, honestly, I don't think you can go wrong with tomatoes. Like, they can so well. I feel like a lot of the veggies, if you don't pickle them, like pickled veggies are another thing altogether. Pickled veggies are awesome. But my family just doesn't like, for example, canned carrots. They just don't like them. They just think they're mushy. They don't really love canned green beans. I don't know. Maybe if your family wasn't as picky as mine, evidently, I don't know. Zach told me when we first got married, no frozen veggies. So I always bought everything fresh. Well, all these years later, and I'm trying to figure out how to can all the veggies from the garden and spinning my wheels and thinking, okay, why am I trying to do that? Because he doesn't like it. So I'm just going to focus on what he likes.
I guess I could eat. It says Deep South Homestead, they can greens, and someone says, hey, they need to do a greens canning video, and they said that we will soon. I think that would be great. However, I don't know if I would eat it.
I don't think you would.
I love spinach, I love kale, I love lettuce, but I like it raw. I want it raw.
Yeah. For greens, like our canned greens, like I'm imagining using them in a spinach dip. Like maybe they would be good in a spinach dip. I don't know. I'm interested to see.
That would be good. I mean, that makes me rethink things. Maybe just for spinach dip.
But then, of course, you need all that cream cheese and sour cream and.
So, just newsflash real quick. I saw Big Bear. He posted that there's been some explosions in New York City, and we were talking about New York City tonight, and all the people leaving New York City. People are obviously going to be leaving now. It says an explosion rocks Chelsea in New York City. Everybody started running and screaming. I'm looking at the drudgereport.com. You can go there and see real-time news updates. A dumpster, they're saying, blew up, and a bomb blast halts charity race in New Jersey. No one hurt. So now people are saying there was up to 4 bombs that exploded in New York City. So, guys, the world's getting nuts. And, man, I'm so glad I'm living out here. And if you're not out here yet, you guys need to get out here. You guys need to get out to a place where you can be safe and get your family safe, And I tell people, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Here's the deal, folks. People are all upset. Let me go on a miniature rant before we end the show here. People are all upset about this Native American pipeline going in. And I know people are going to get angry at me about this. And they're really upset that this pipeline is going through all these Native American lands. Here's the deal. Here's the reality. The Native Americans were conquered people. They were a conquered people. And they were relegated to this area during that time. And it was a horrible time. It was a horrible event that took place. No doubt about it. The Trail of Tears, I live right in that area where that passed through to Oklahoma. Cherokee Nation is not much more than a stone's throw away. But they were a conquered people. And empires rise and fall. That's the reality of it. And let me tell you, this country is about to be conquered. This country is about to fall. This country is about to see its decline. Just like all the other nations throughout history, they rise and fall. Empires rise and fall. We also are going to fall. And we're seeing it now. And so you're looking at stuff like New York that's happening right now. I see Gregory Thomas just posted injured count now at 26. Things like this are going to keep happening. And I don't think Trump or Clinton are going to be able to save this country. So I've told people in my videos, I've said, what you need to do for your family is to dig a hole, take your family, and crawl down in it and wait for this to pass by and be able to survive. You guys need to survive what's coming. And the best way to do that is to dig a hole, get your family, and crawl down in it. Because all throughout history, it happens over and over again. Nations rise and fall, and when that does happen, when those events occur, people die, they starve, wars happen, economic downturns, and so there's just things that happen, and you need to prepare for that. It's a reality of life. So anyway, looking at the New York news, and people are looking at that, and so. It's just what it is. It's sad to see all this stuff happening. It's sad to see this nation going the way it is, but I don't think there's a way you can turn it around. And I just think this is how it's going to be. All right, what else? Any other last minute questions or any questions I missed? Let's see. Mustard greens. Someone says they can mustard greens. Have you grown sweet potatoes? Yes. Sweet potato vines are taking over my garden, but every time I'm not sure they're doing all that well this year. I don't know. I haven't dug them up yet. I kind of wait until the frost comes before I dig up my sweet potatoes. Or right before the frost, sorry.
I don't know that we've ever even grown as many greens as I would think that you would need when you were canning because they cook down so much.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm interested in seeing Deep South's video.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Do a video, Deep South Homestead, on the greens. I think that would be good. I would love to watch that. Crawling into a hole won't help. Hey, I know it will. You know what they tell you to do when there's an explosion coming? I was in the infantry, and when the explosions come, what do they tell you to do? Crawl down in a hole. That's exactly where you go. How do you get rid of silver stink bug type bugs killing our garden? I use neem oil, and it works. Neem oil works really good. You're talking about squash bugs, I think. And they wreak havoc on a garden, especially squash and other things too. It says Charlottesville Fire Department is investigating a reported underground explosion of a transformer owned by a Dominion on a downtown mall. Huh. Luana says, if you're not a prepper yet, you better get busy. Yeah, you're getting kind of late to the show. Yeah, the deer are kind of eating some of the sweet potato vines, but that's okay. There's plenty out there. I keep the radio on most of the time out there, and the radio really does work well to keep the deer out of the garden. Dig deep, Zach. Well, I'm as deep as I can go. I mean, unless I was going to go to the unless I was going to go to Alaska. Yeah, infantry says, you stop, you dig. That's exactly right. Are pinto beans really good canned?
Yes.
We can lots of all kinds of beans. Pinto beans, red kidney beans.
Yeah, I love them just because it's so easy. I mean, it's really easy. You just gotta. I always soak them because I think that that's better for your health and gassiness and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you just soak them the day before and get them in your jars and can them.
Yeah.
And you always have beans on your shelf.
We love beans. We love refried beans. Eat that a lot. In fact, I'm going to do a bigger garden worth of beans like that next year. I forgot what they were called. They were called like Christmas beans or something like that. I don't know. I'm gonna look at some different types of beans next year to grow. I'm going to expand my bean and my squash beds next year at the garden. That's something we're going to be doing. What else here? Lots of news stuff going on in the comments about things going on in the news right now in New York and other places. Anyway, so I think we're going to let it go at that. Really interesting seeing you guys again and being back in the show. We got lots of good stuff to talk about next week, and there's always things going on. Hopefully, everyone in New York is safe. People are going to get out of there, and guys, get your family safe. That's what it comes down to today. Prep. Dig a hole, get your family, and crawl down in it because there are hard times coming. We'll just leave it at that tonight. All right, guys. We'll see you next time on the Homestead, and be back again next week. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. 9 o'clock Central, 10 Eastern. We're here every Saturday night. Come back and visit. All right. We'll see you next time.